Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the A3U Review.
Today we have a special new segment for you. It is called
Battle of the Bots.
We're going to basically take one figure from one company and compare it to the same character from another company.
Yeah.
For this first segment, though, we're going to actually do a mega battle. Normally we would do two segments in an episode, but this time we're actually battling a pair of bots.
Pair bots.
Against another pair of bots. And we'll be looking at the Ocular Max, Artifex, and Terraegis.
As well as the BadCube, Speedbump, and Lorry.
That's right. So, yeah, let's get this thing started, right?
My name is Alex.
I'm Boris.
You're watching the A3U Review. So what we're going to do in this segment is the Battle of the Bots. And what the Battle of the Bots is that we have familiar characters that, of course, you know from your childhood. And they are produced, of course, by two different companies. We want to know which company produces the best version of that character.
That's right.
And this is the Mega Edition.
Yes, and this is the Mega Edition because we are going to be looking at a pair. As you guys know, Hoist and Trailbreaker back in your childhood were always a good pair, just like Ironhide and Ratchet.
That's right.
Right? So we wanted to see which pair warrants the best pairing.
That's right. So this is going to be really, really exciting because we really don't know. We're going to find out right now by going through a certain set of criteria, and we're going to find out who do we have in front of us.
Okay, so we're going to take a look at the BadCube versus Ocular Max production lines.
Yes.
Okay, so right here we have the BadCube Lorry versus the Ocular Max Artifex. And then we have the BadCube Speedbump versus the Ocular Max Terragis.
Yes.
They're both very good figures, but let's go through it. And as you guys are familiar with our new review scheme, we're going to go through 4 points that we think are great comparison points and as well as review points. So let's start with Artifex versus Lorry. First impressions, Alex. Design-wise, aesthetic-wise, which one strikes you more?
This one strikes me more just because he's just way more proportional. I like the colors, and for this one, I feel like I'm not a big fan of that light orange. It just feels off to me.
Right.
But with this guy, he's still really, really bulky. He just got too much mass to him in the wrong places. So those are my thoughts.
Yes, I think that was a little bit of a criticism all over the fandom, and that he was a little bit chubby looking. Now, I don't mind. I actually like the chubbier looking bot mode. I agree with you in terms of the color. The color on the Artifex is more striking.
Yes.
But I still like that they really varied up a lot of the accessories. And what actually really gets me is I really liked it in the alt mode with all the accessories in the back and everything. I thought it was really great. But then I thought it really fell flat in the vehicle mode for the Lorry, because the undercarriage, you could see everything. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing you're going to notice with the speed bumps. I'm just going to talk about it now. Whereas the Artifex really hides that very well.
Yeah.
However, when you look at it from the back, you have the split back, which isn't as attractive in alt mode to me. Lorry has that really clean flush back, along with, I feel, a little bit of a better accessory set on the back with the little towing, the little tow cable and everything. I thought, in terms of the alt mode, this one definitely struck me as a better one. I am a little bit torn. I would say that both of them are kind of similar when it comes to design. So let's move on. So posability-wise, we've had a chance to play with it, Alex. And basically, if you take a look at the posability on these guys, you get a lot of ratcheting back and forward, which is nice, and then they use friction joints from side to side, so it really gives it this, and it's actually really nice friction joints on the Artifex.
Yeah.
So it really offers a wide range of poses, and then of course you have the little hinged feet on the bottom here.
Yep.
Now, one thing about that is I haven't had it for a while yet, but those are kind of held by screws, so they could get loose after a while. I don't know if you felt the same way, Alex.
Well, the way I feel is that I do like the posing on him, and I do like the fact that they both have those joints at the feet, which allows for some really great stances. But I found that this one is not so solid. I think that he has a hard time really standing up in the way that I want him to stand.
Floppier in the legs.
Yeah, the legs just, maybe it's having a hard time holding up all that bulk at the very top. Maybe he's just a little bit more top heavy or something, but his legs are just kind of weak to me, and that affects the posability of it.
I'm going to take some liberties here, Alex, because I think I know what you're talking about. It doesn't offer the same kind of ratcheting. Everything is on friction.
Yeah.
And because of that, there are some points where it feels it's not as tight.
Yeah.
So when you get into certain poses, it kind of starts ruining the articulation a little bit.
Yeah.
Another downside is Lorry, because of its cool little accessories in alt mode, it actually has this kind of like a back piece to it.
Yeah, that's the part that's really messing up all the posing.
That's right. So it basically kind of gets in the way. As well. Now you can overcome some of these things, but still, legs-wise, the lower half of Lorry is a little bit weaker in terms of posability than Artifex. It still has the same great hinged feet, so that's good. That doesn't miss a beat there, and then it also has some great posability with its ankles and whatnot, so that allows for that. Upper body-wise. They both have the nice swivel. They can actually have a little bit of organicness to it. See, I'm already having that floppy problem. Alex.
There you go.
Yeah, same thing with Artifex here. You know, you can move it side to side, so it's great. And then when you get into the arms, same thing, side to side. Artifex has the articulation in the index fingers, whereas the Lorry has the kind of one hand kind of articulation. But it's not bad. I mean, you're gonna use it to hold a gun, all that kind of stuff. It's not really a big deal or a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
I did notice, like, just even right now posing with the feet, these little peg things, they keep coming off a little bit. That was one thing that I forgot to mention that was a little bit disappointing about the feet. Otherwise, it's the same thing with the arms. Good swivel on the arms as well as the hands.
Yeah.
They also swivel around, so that's great. Good movement in the head as well for both of these guys here. Lorry's on a ball joint, and the ball joint offers it a little bit more kind of natural movement. The Artifex is not. It kind of swivels and both up and down as well as side to side here. So doesn't offer as natural of a posing, but it's still very, very good. Nothing I can complain about in that. I have to say the lower body of Lorry really it kind of affects its posability, unfortunately.
For sure. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So I think that round is clear. It goes to Artifex.
Yep, that's right.
Unfortunately for Lorry, it shares that same great I guess posability that it's borrowed from Terragis.
Yeah.
Okay, so next thing is creativity.
So let's move on to creativity, and right away I'll tell you that this has a bit of a unique design in my opinion. It just looks very, very different from your standard looking, I guess, proportionate robot. It just kind of has its own character to it. I don't know. I like the fact that his legs look a little bit shorter, and the fact that he's a bit bulkier at the top. That in itself presents up for a more creative design compared to some other designs that we're so used to seeing.
I feel like Lorry does take a lot of liberties that are creative. It looks chubbier than the Speedbump, and it looks very vastly different. I love how it really took to the realism in alt mode of having the tow cable and everything. I thought that was very creative and how they worked with that. So it's definitely got some style points when it comes to that. Terragis didn't stray much. The Artifex didn't stray much from the Terragis mold that it borrowed from. It has a different backing. It did attempt to change up the arms a little bit. Its strength, I feel, has definitely borrowed from the fact that it had some inspiration from the Studio Ox artwork.
Okay.
There was never actually an alt mode for Terragis or Hoist. They had to kind of come up with that themselves and still make the bot mode kind of lend to that Studio Ox kind of design. So in that sense, it's creative, but it did not take as many liberties as I thought that Lorry did, especially the huge difference between that and the share mold with Speedbump versus the differences in that versus the Terragis. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, so let's move on. Let's move on to fun factor.
Yes, fun factor.
Now, this was a difficult point for me because I did have fun playing with it in both modes. The Lorry offered a lot of homage accessories as well as the whole tow cable thing, so I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
Artifex, not much going on. It's got a little cool, little transformable, like kind of a tow hitch kind of thing, but nothing like really spectacular that stood out as much as the Lorry did in alt mode. And then in bot mode, they both have some really great accessories. Artifex edges it out a little bit in the weapons and the stuff that you can do with the hands.
Yeah.
It's got this little hammer that you can put on, different head sculpts that it came with. And, just different options for where you want to put all of the weapons.
Yeah.
Lorry, as you saw, not so much, right?
Yeah. Let's go to the alt mode, and the only thing I can really see is just that tow cable. That's a cool feature, right? But bringing it back to its robot mode, I mean, let's get down to the real basics. I'm not going to have a whole lot of fun trying to play with this guy, get him in the stance that I want, just because I keep on fearing that he probably might fall over with these kind of odd-looking joints. So I'm going to have more fun playing with this guy. Another thing that goes to its fun factor, or lack of fun factor, is that the transformation was hell. I just really didn't have a lot of fun with that, and it just really gave me it was kind of frustrating. So, I mean, if there's something that I had to say that was more fun, or rather not as fun, I would say that the transformation on Lorry was not as fun. So I kind of feel the same way. I had a little bit more fun even in bot mode, playing around, like I said, with the accessories, with Artifex. Now, not to say that Artifex didn't come with its own frustrations. Artifex, the way that it transforms, it has a very clever upper body, and then it starts to kind of move down to the bottom. It was very compacted. So you have to say that it's very clever in how they got the transformation to get really compact, get into that really nice, sleek truck mode. But that is also its weakness, because it's so compact in the legs there. The legs were actually a little bit frustrating. Once you get to know how to transform it, great. But I have to say, like, there were points where I did want to kind of pull up my hair and eat it. It would have been more fun than doing the transformation. And unfortunately, for both of them, I kind of felt like I struggled a little bit. But the Lorry, unfortunately, I did struggle with a little bit more. You cannot transform these the first times, I believe, without an instruction manual. You gotta have the instructions.
If you do it without the instructions, you're going to do it out of order. And if you do that, you may stress some parts. With Lorry, definitely, you're going to miss a lot of pegging points. That's going to frustrate the hell out of you. With the Artifex, really watch for those side mirrors. If you are transforming this without the instructions the first time, it's very easy to potentially hit those side mirrors and then bend them, stress them, break them, you name it. And then another point of frustration on this, if you don't follow the instructions, is that these little pieces like these, I guess the tow rail and everything, they'll actually pop out. The windows for the passenger and driver side, they just pop right off. And I mean, it's not like, at least they don't break, but it's just really frustrating when you're transforming something, right? And pieces are falling all over the place. So yeah, I do think that the fun factor, definitely the Artifex does edge out the Lorry a little bit. So it does win that round, unfortunately. So let's move on to Speedbump and Terragis. First impressions when you looked at the design of Terragis versus Speedbump, what was your favorite?
It's very interesting, even though that he's a lot bulkier, just like how this one's bulkier, I feel he looks good. And I don't know what it is about it that captures my attention, but maybe it's the silver legs, and maybe the fact that he's taller. I think that it just works out. So I like Speedbump more than Terragis. Terragis just looks very simple. It just doesn't have a whole lot of design aspects that really excite me. But I like the way a lot of the parts look on it. So maybe it's just the silver parts that really stand out to me compared to this light gray that just looks really unappealing.
I completely disagree. I feel like Speedbump does have a lot of points that work for it.
Okay.
For example, the bulkiness is actually, I do feel, is a strength towards it, because I do like bulky bots a lot of the times. I feel a lot of its designs too aren't overly complicated. They're nice lines. Very much the stuff that I like about BadCube in general, about their whole line of masterpiece scale figures. The one thing I totally didn't like was the legs. That I felt like everything from the legs down started to kind of lose me. Like it's a lot of kibble kind of going on around here. If we take a look at it, it's just not as sleek overall. And then when you kind of bring it into the whole picture with how the upper torso works and how the sides of the truck kind of just tuck in beside it. Once you see it, you almost can't unsee it for me. And then the sticking out of the side mirrors. I feel like Terragis is a lot more slick in that sense. Everything hides really well. I love how the chest, it had that little clever, like, collapsible chest. And then it also, you know, had the ability to kind of move on down this whole line and work with the legs in much of the same fashion. Much more sleek, a lot less kibble. I really did like that about the Terragis. And then when you also look at the alt mode in general, again, this Speedbump suffers from a little bit of that undercarriage issue. And then the same comments about Terragis as I did with Artifex, the split bumper, but had the nice styled truck mode. I think all in all, it just felt a little bit more like the flow of the design kind of won for me for the Terragis. But that's just
sure,
that's just me. Let's move on.
So let's get into posability. Now we do know that this and this are very similar, and this are of course the same company, but this is still quite different, and it really comes down to the legs. I found that I was able to pose this guy a lot better than him, mainly because, well, it's not so busy down there, right? When you compare it to the Lorry, the Speedbump is just a lot more solid, and it's mainly all just friction joints too. It's nothing really that much like different. Like they didn't use like those clicking ratcheting. They didn't use ratcheting. They just did a good job in just making the joints a lot more solid. And as for the Terragis, it really is just the same thing. It's not that much different, so I can't really say that much about it. But what they've done here is just made a more stable figure. So
that's right. Posability definitely stacks up a lot closer with these two. Whereas the gap between these two is big. And you're right. It's because of all these little adjustments that they made to the leg down here. It's thinner in a lot of points where it doesn't need to be. It's also, I shouldn't say doesn't need to be. It was part of the
part
aesthetic.
of the design. Yeah.
But in that design, it flawed a lot of the aesthetics.
Yeah.
Flawed it, and basically, even this like that whole pegging thing that I was showing you that kept coming out when I was trying to pose it.
Yeah.
You don't have all that complication down here with Speedbump. It's very much more straightforward and solid on this, and like thicker joints all around. So you do get a way more solid figure, and then proportionately. As you've mentioned, this figure aesthetically was more proportionate too, so you don't get the heavy-weighted top half compared to the bottom. But that is actually a good thing to note, is that it's because both Lorry and Speedbump have a very heavy die cast actually in the front. I forgot to mention that. Now, the Terragis has die cast on it too, but it doesn't actually have it on the top here. This is a lot of this is plastic, and so it doesn't suffer from that same weight imbalance. That's why Lorry is kind of tends to want to tip a little bit more and be more floppy, whereas Speedbump was kind of engineered so that it actually could take that weight a little bit better. So let's move on to creativity. Now, the Terragis and the Artifex, as we know, they share the same mold. I believe this was the leading design before they actually had to do the Artifex. So in terms of being creative, they really had to like look for inspiration out of the Studio Ox kind of design and really try to be inspired by that, and they made this based on that. So in that sense, it is very creative, but at least they had a lot to draw from. Speedbump, once again, it doesn't really look like an exact homage of anything. It's definitely got a lot of its own character. I don't know, what do you think about that?
For me, I think that they both get creativity points in a way, mainly because it's their own style. I mean, the Speedbump has its own style, and the Terragis has its own style, and it's very, very unique in its own way. So I'm really not sure which one is more creative than the other. I just think that they have their own little unique take, and they pulled it off.
So there you have it. Let's take a look at fun factor as well. So fun factor, I feel like it's very much the same as the other two. Still not very enjoyable in terms of playing around with his transformation. Same thoughts on the legging for the Terragis. In terms of accessories, same thing again. Terragis does have a lot of playability because you can swap out a lot of those parts. The Speedbump actually does come with some more swappable parts and things that you can do with him. So he's a little bit more fun in the bot mode than Lorry was, but both of them don't have much going on in alt mode. You know, it's trying to be a Toyota Hilux basically. So there, you know, it's got a canopy. There's not much going on.
I feel the exact same thing. I'd have to say that it comes down to the transformation. I mean, let's be completely real here. The vehicle mode, it's not really that exciting. It's a truck with a canopy. As for the robot mode, it's all right here. You know, it's very basic. But what it comes down to is a transformation. And it's not so much how fun it is, but more like how one is not as fun as the other. And I gotta say that the transformation for Speedbump was not really that fun. So, points to the Terragis.
So let's recap and see who won. So I mean, when we looked at Lorry and Terragis, it looks like in terms of design points, we were a little bit split up. You liked the Lorry a little bit better. I felt like the Artifex was a little bit better. There wasn't really a true unanimous. So we kind of give them a tie on that one. That one's pretty subjective. Then we moved into posability. I think it was pretty unanimous. It was the Artifex. It edged out the Lorry a little bit on the posability. In terms of creativity, I think I felt like the Lorry scored a few more creative points because it derived a little bit more from the same mold and changed a lot more than the Artifex did from the Terragis. And then I feel like you felt the same thing about the creativity, correct?
Correct.
Yes, so in that sense, I think that round went to a Lorry. And then when it came down to fun factor, that's where it was very close because both had their frustrations. But I do feel like the Artifex, unfortunately, does edge out Lorry just that little bit. So having said that, you know, unfortunately, I think that means that other than the design, the rest of the 3 points, Artifex does edge out Lorry a little bit.
Yeah.
Not to say that Lorry lost by too much. So this is going to be a tough call. But I'd say that Artifex does get a little bit more.
Okay, all right. In that case, let's just get the Lorry out of the way, and he wins.
Yeah.
Now let's see which one we're gonna take out here.
In this one, I believe design-wise, when we looked at it, it was a little bit of a split. You liked
I liked the Speedbump.
BadCube version, and I really like the sleekness of the Terragis, both in out mode and in bot mode. So that's a little bit more subjective once again. And then moving on to posability. Very strong on the Speedbump side this time, and then still Terragis also had it. Again, I think you like the posability of the Speedbump, just because it was so much better than the Lorry. I still do like a little bit more of the sleekness and the posable points that the Terragis has. It does have that extra ratcheting that I liked in the forward movement. So for me, it was that it was the Terragis. So that's another kind of a tie.
Yeah.
And then we get to creativity.
Yeah.
Creativity. It was you really couldn't make a decision.
I couldn't make a decision at all.
I felt like BadCube once again had to infuse a lot of its own unique liberties into the figure, but you know, on the other hand, Ocular Max had to look at the inspiration from Studio Ox and having no real reference for the alt mode or anything else. It had to really kind of match that style. So I feel like for me, I also couldn't decide. So there was really no unanimous choosing on that one. Another subjective thing. So really it comes down to the fun factor for these two. And I think the fun factor, unfortunately, again, because of the transformation, the Terragis edges out the Speedbump. So, you know, it would kind of appear to me that, unfortunately, the best pairing still is to have the Ocular Max family together. Now, having said that, though, I have... because they're the same mold, though, I have kind of recommended to a lot of people it's kind of nice to try out two molds. And if you really did have to try out two different companies in the pairing, I would say the Lorry probably comes out a little bit stronger than the Speedbump, would you say?
I would say so.
Because this only edged this out a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas there was some serious, subjective things going on with Speedbump and Terragis. So, you know, I think, you know, either way you look at it, these two don't look too bad as a pair.
They don't look bad at all.
Right? And then you could also argue that these two also offer some interesting different looks.
Yeah.
So it all kind of you know, it does at the end depend on you, but you know, based on what we went through, you know, it's the Ocular Max line that kind of edges out.
Yeah, and that was the Battle of the Bots Mega Edition.
Mega Edition.
And that's our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it.
And as usual, we always look forward to your comments. Please let us know actually about your Battle of the Bots favorites. What pairing would you have chose out of the Ocular Max versus BadCube battle?
Yeah, let us know which one you would choose and why. I'm really curious to know why you would choose one over the other. Anyways, for our next episode, we got a mega comparison for you guys because we'll be comparing shockwaves with astro trains and also female combiners.
That's right, Megatronia versus Victorion.
Yep.
And also, we're going to be looking at a huge 18-inch scale Optimus Prime. You're not going to want to miss it. It's an awesome figure.
Yeah, so, as always, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, Ages 3 and Up, and also follow us on Twitter at Ages 3 and Up. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Peace.
Bye.